Good morning, Cape Town. Let's try that again. Good morning, Cape Town. Welcome to the 4th annual AWS Cape Town Summit. Thank you so much for taking a day out of your busy schedules to spend with us today. Our summits are designed to help you learn how to build and deploy solutions on AWS. This event is a learning experience and offers you an opportunity to learn about AWS, our partners, and most importantly, from our customers and your peers. My team and I are so excited to have you here with us today. We have over 3,500 people in the audience. Thank you again to those who have traveled near and far to attend. In addition to hearing about the cloud journeys, successes, and lessons from our keynote customers, Time Digital, Old Mutual, and the University of Pretoria, we have over 40 business and technical solutions available this afternoon, and over 20 partner solutions showcasing at the Expo. So, to acquaint you to the summit agenda, we are currently in the keynote session, which will run until 11:15. From here, we will host our first set of breakout sessions at 11:30. New to the summit this year are executive, business, and startup tracks. Our hot topics tracks focuses on containerization services and application development in the cloud. Download and use the AWS Events mobile app to find your way. At 12:15, we invite you to visit the various AWS stands in the Expo Center. Ask an expert or check out the recruiting stand or the marketplace stand, as well as remember to visit the hot startups running at AWS Central. You can also enjoy the Partner Expo, see their solutions, and grab lunch until 1 p.m. Participate in the world's first global autonomous racing league, open to anyone at the Deep Racer track in the Expo Center. After lunch, please continue to visit the breakout sessions until 5:30. Please look up my personal favorite, the Deep Racer workshop at 1. And then, like every great AWS event, join us at 5:30 for networking and drinks in the Expo area. If you need any help or assistance, please look out for signage around the building or tap one of the AWS staff members in a purple shirt for assistance. We'd like to thank our global partners, Intel, VMware, Datadog, and Veeam2, for their continued support of our event. Our joint engagement allows us to reach our objective of educating and enabling many customers. Here's a video from Intel.
The world is a wild and unpredictable place, and isn't that absolutely amazing? Products can catch fire overnight. A back-of-a-napkin idea can change the world. An incurable disease can suddenly appear vulnerable. So many wonderfully improbable, never-before-possible breakthroughs are out there, waiting to be discovered. With Amazon Web Services and Intel, you'll be ready for anything. Ready to unlock a human genome, to safeguard our most valuable assets, to improve the way we communicate, to give every human a chance at a better future, to reach new speeds. Because you'll have Amazon Web Services featuring custom Intel technology to drive cutting-edge advancements. Because AWS and Intel engineers have worked together for over a decade to make sure you'll be ready. And because you'll have AWS's most innovative and powerful cloud service platform to help you make the impossible possible. That is the power of AWS with Intel. So go ahead, shatter conventions, explore the unknown, and ask questions that haven't been answered. With Amazon Web Services and Intel, you can charge toward the future ready for anything and ready to change everything.
A special thank you also to our regional partners for their support. I urge you to go and visit their showcases in the Solution Expo area. understand the value that they have created for their customers, and learn from their experiences. What I love about our sponsor list this year is the amazing mix that we have in terms of diversity. We have managed resellers, solution partners, technology and consulting partners, as well as a blend of partners who have a global presence in South Africa and local partners. AWS is a rapidly growing business. In Q1 2019, AWS revenue increased by 41% year on year, taking us up to $7.4 billion and making us a $30.8 billion revenue run rate business. It's always day one at AWS. Lots of opportunity for our customers across every imaginable segment and industry. We have tens of thousands of customers in sub-Saharan Africa. Pick n Pay is one of the largest retailers in Africa, with a staff complement of over 80,000 spread across 1,500 stores. The company has moved its e-commerce platform, data analytics systems, mobile customer application, and SAP Business Warehouse to AWS. Standard Bank Group Limited is Africa's biggest bank by assets. The company has selected AWS as its preferred cloud provider and will migrate its production workloads, including its customer-facing platforms and strategic core banking applications, to the cloud. When researchers in the South African National Bioinformatics Institute at the University of Western Cape had an idea to help more than 6 million South Africans living with HIV, they came to AWS to make it a reality. The Exotype platform, which provides HIV drug-resistant analysis testing at affordable rates, tests hundreds of people per day in a cost-effective, scalable way, and runs entirely on AWS. AWS committed to South Africa, and we have continued investing. As you may be aware, we are launching an AWS infrastructure region in South Africa in 2020. We will keep driving innovation. We are expanding our teams, both here in Cape Town as well as in Johannesburg. AWS continues supporting a variety of entrepreneurs and startups in the region. Don't miss the startup track at the Startup Central in the Expo. We are continuing our training investment, both through locally led, AWS-led training, but also through our partnerships supporting local universities and institutions. And during the month of March, we held our first ever AWS pop-up event, Loft event in Johannesburg. Under one roof, we catered to over 4,500 customers who were able to participate in guided conversations around AI, ML, and many other AWS services. With that, I wish you a fun and fruitful day. Don't forget to check out the expo, and I look forward to engaging with you during the breakout sessions. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Peter DeSantis.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us for the Cape Town AWS Summit. My name is Peter DeSantis, and I run our AWS global infrastructure and customer support teams. Believe it or not, I've been with Amazon for 21 years. This last weekend was actually 21 years for me. And yeah, thanks. It's pretty incredible. I never expected to be in the same job for even 5 years, so to be in a job for 21 years is quite astounding to me. And I often get the question, what's kept you at Amazon for so long? And the answer for me is easy. The first is that I've gotten the opportunity to work with some truly incredible people over that 21 years. And the second thing is that I've been able to build cool things. And for me, building is a passion. And the fact that I've been able to build things and put them in customers' hands in many different contexts has been a true delight and something that I feel quite fortunate for. And I know this room is also full of builders, passionate about building things for your customers and your users. And so today, I'm excited to be here to help you understand how you can build with AWS. But before we get to that, let's be honest, I'm also really excited to be here in Cape Town. Some of you may know this, but we actually built and launched EC2 from Cape Town. We started a development center here in 2004, and I had the opportunity to come join that team in 2006 and live here for several years while we built and launched the service. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's ironic that we built the first real-time on-demand computing service in a place where there are multiple ways to say now, just now, none of which really mean now. But I digress. A lot's changed since 2006. We still have a team here that's working on EC2, a very large team. We have development teams working on other critical areas of AWS. We've also got a team that helps support our AWS developer and customer support business, and a team supporting customer support for the Amazon retail site. So, unfortunately, all these people no longer fit into that office building in Constantia. But the new office space is not so bad. In fact, the office spaces have the most amazing views of Table Mountain, Lion Head, and the rest of Cape Town, and I very much miss being here. All right, let's get back to building. So I mentioned I'm a builder, and this is true at work, and it's also true at home. These are actually my toolboxes, and if you look closely, you'll notice I have barcodes on many of the drawers. That's because finding the right tool, having the right tool, and then actually being able to find it is super important. And so I actually labeled all my tool drawers and built a little app on AWS. That's a story for a different day. But nothing is more frustrating than knowing you have the right tool but not being able to find it. And the same is true with building your services. Without the right tool, you end up making compromises. Cost, speed, functionality. Having it all really matters. And this morning, I'm excited to spend some time telling you about some of the breadth and depth of AWS. There is no one close to having the functionality of AWS. So let's take a closer look. AWS has a robust, diverse, fully featured platform with over 165 services. We have core infrastructure building blocks like storage and compute. We have relational databases, non-relational databases, analytics, mobile services, IoT, machine learning. We've also got many other areas, but having all of these areas is not enough. Having all these areas is only part of it. You really have to look much deeper at the depth of functionality in each of these areas. A lot of providers can check all the boxes up here on this board, but if you look closer at how many features AWS has within each of these areas, you'll see a real difference. It doesn't take long for builders to know the difference in the depth of these platforms. There's a huge difference. Let me give you some examples. I'll start with an area near to my heart, the AWS global infrastructure. A map like this makes it very easy to see the breadth. We have 21 geographic regions with 4 additional regions announced. One in Bahrain, one in Milan, one in Jakarta, Indonesia, and of course, a region coming in Cape Town, South Africa. But something as seemingly straightforward as global infrastructure still needs a deeper look. Our approach to building global infrastructure is fundamentally different than our competitors. Each of these regions is composed of multiple availability zones. And availability zones are a partition of infrastructure. And by having multiple availability zones in every AWS region, you can write high availability applications while achieving low latency to your end users and keeping your data inside of that AWS region. This is a unique feature of AWS. We currently have 66 public availability zones, with 12 more coming in the pre-announced regions. Okay, let's look at a different area. Let's look at databases. It's becoming more and more important to be able to choose the right database for your application's needs. And recognizing this, AWS has over 14 different purpose-built databases. And sometimes you need to change your database over time. And for that, we have the database migration service, which allows you to move between database types. It's the only service which allows you to move between relational and non-relational databases. Or look at storage. Choice matters here as well. When you think of storage, it's easy to think of block storage, object storage, and file storage. But you have to look deeper. With block storage, we not only have more volume options, we have the ability to resize your volumes while your application works with no interruption. And we enable you to automate creation, retention, and deletion of EBS snapshots. And with object storage, you get object storage that gives you the best security, the best availability, the best scalability, and object-level control at any scale. And that brings us to file systems. Choice really matters here. Whether you need a high-scale cloud-native file system, or a simple Windows file store, or a scale-out high-throughput file system, AWS has the tool that's right for you. And of course, you need options for moving data into and out of AWS. And for that, we have 11 unique ways to transfer data. And nothing is more important to our customers than security. And breadth and depth really matter here. AWS offers more than 200 security, compliance, and governance features and services, which is by far the most of any cloud provider. Look at something as simple as encryption. All of our services which store customer data encrypt by default. And we offer this over 116 different AWS services, which is 3 times more than any other provider. And sometimes you need more control. And so you can use the AWS Key Management Service to control your keys for encryption. And you can do this with 54 AWS services. That's 4 times more than any other provider. Okay, I know I just moved really quickly over a whole bunch of different areas. And these are just examples. We could really double-click on any of these areas, and you would see the difference in functionality and depth. But today, what I want to do is talk to you about how you can use AWS to build. And so we're going to look at a few of these areas in depth and understand how they can help you build your applications on AWS. We're also going to hear from a few AWS customers about how they are innovating with AWS. So, let's get started. Almost always, when we talk to companies, the reason they want to move to the cloud is the agility that it affords them. That's why customers of all sizes across all industries are migrating their applications to AWS in a big way. Now let's look at how the breadth and depth of AWS helps with migration. We've learned through helping the world's largest enterprises migrate their legacy applications to the cloud that there's no one-size-fits-all approach. If you want to move as fast as possible to the cloud, you need the broadest and deepest set of tools. One of the first things you're going to look to migrate is your data. And as I mentioned earlier, we have 11 unique ways to move data into and out of AWS. Let me highlight a couple. First, there's AWS Snowball. It's a petabyte-scale data transfer appliance that's designed to be secure and help you transfer large amounts of data to the cloud. Transferring data with Snowball is simple, fast, more secure, and can be up to 90% cheaper than using the internet. Or, if you want to transfer more data, we offer AWS Snowmobile, the first exabyte-scale data transfer device. Now, Snowmobile is actually a truck that you drive up to your data center, connect to your backbone network, and store up to 100 petabytes of storage. Then we drive it to AWS and upload the data for you. Or AWS Data Sync, which is a data transfer service that automates transferring and synchronizing data over the network. It's a lot like rsync, but faster. An AWS Storage Gateway, which helps you easily connect on-premise applications to AWS data services. Now, we'll talk about this a bit later, but one of the fundamental building blocks to any application is the database. And we have tools to make it easy to migrate these as well. The AWS Database Migration Service allows you to migrate your data to AWS. And it's important to note that it works in both directions. You can migrate in, and you can migrate out. More than 140,000 databases have been migrated using the AWS Database Migration Service. When we think about enabling application migration, we've been focused on supporting the environments that you're familiar with. SAP and AWS have been collaborating since 2011 to certify AWS as a place to run production SAP workloads. You also see Windows up there. You may be surprised to learn that Windows workloads run on AWS. In fact, AWS has run Windows for over a decade, And according to a report by the IDC, AWS hosts nearly twice as many workloads in the cloud as Microsoft. And our experience running Windows applications has earned our customers' trust. The number of AWS enterprises using EC2 for Windows servers has been growing steadily by over 400% over the last 3 years. And we have hundreds of thousands of customers bringing Windows to AWS, including Autodesk, which has been running Windows on AWS for over a decade, and Salesforce, which has over 10,000 Windows Server instances running on AWS. We've been talking about migration, but many of you might be wondering, what about hybrid? While we believe in the fullness of time, the vast majority of companies will run all of their workloads in the cloud, it's a priority for us to make it easy for customers to run AWS as a seamless extension of their existing infrastructure. So this is something that customers like to call hybrid IT architectures. And if you think about it, pretty much any enterprise customer running on AWS today who's not all in is running a hybrid IT architecture. And we see our role in hybrid as working with our customers to allow them to seamlessly extend their on-premise infrastructure to AWS. By working closely with enterprises, AWS has developed the industry's broadest set of hybrid capabilities, including storage, networking, security, deployment, management, to make it easy for you to integrate with the cloud as a seamless extension of your data center. For example, AWS Direct Connect lets you easily and reliably connect your data center network to AWS over private connectivity. AWS Outpost, a recently announced service that will be released later this year, provides the same AWS services, infrastructure, and operating models, but allows you to run it anywhere. Any data center, any co-location facility, any factory. Outposts are perfect for certain really low latency use cases where you need to be able to run, but you want to seamlessly integrate with your AWS environment. Snowball Edge is great when you need to run compute at the edge in a place where maybe you don't have consistent network access, or where you might need a ruggedized container for that compute. And finally, VMware Cloud on AWS allows you to use the software that you've been using on-premise directly on the AWS platform. We've seen a lot of momentum with AWS Cloud on AWS, and it's why we've worked so closely with VMware on our unique partnership. With the launch of VMware Cloud on AWS, customers have the ability to run the same VMware software and tools they've been using for years on-prem, but to use it directly on AWS. So, we have many, many customers migrating to the platform and operating in a hybrid mode as they transition using AWS's depth and breadth. But what about those building entirely new applications? Well, we have a ton of customers who have started with AWS on day one. Let's look at how some of these customers are building and running their applications using AWS. Okay, let's take a look first at how things existed before AWS. You used to have to build big monolithic software architectures with all of your processes tightly coupled in the same application. This is how we built things when I joined Amazon. If you can believe it, we only had a few dozen software engineers back then, and we all collaborated on this one big piece of code called Obidos. Now, Obidos was an amazing piece of software. Depending on how you used it, you could run the website, you could run the customer service center, you could run the fulfillment centers. Really, Obidos could do almost anything. But it had one big problem, and that is it didn't scale. As our software teams grew into the hundreds, we were constantly struggling to make changes. Either we were breaking the build, or we were simply struggling to make changes to this large monolithic code base. And what we learned is that monolithic software doesn't scale. And so we started building services. And so in a microservices architecture, an application is built as an independent set of components, where each application does something and does it very well. And you can iterate on each of those microservices to deliver at whatever pace of innovation that piece of your system requires. And at Amazon, we discovered by factoring Obidos into all these services, we could move much more quickly and scale much more efficiently. So we started building services for everything. We had a service to manage customer information, a service for personalization, a service for community features, a service for order processing. Pretty soon, we had hundreds of services, and things improved dramatically. And this was a pretty big innovative idea back then, believe it or not. But today, it's the cost of being in business. Because microservices are independently run, each service can be updated, deployed, and scaled to meet the demands of that portion of the application. And you can structure teams around these microservices. And that allows those teams to have the knowledge and authority to make changes that they need quickly. And this allows you to move very quickly as a business. So, as we look at this transition from monolithic software to microservices, an obvious place to start is compute. And compute has been changing over time. When we launched EC2 in 2006, it was all about instances. And today, we have dozens of different kinds of instances to meet whatever type of workloads you might have. Then came the rise of containers. Then the rise of Lambda event-based processing. Today, most of our customers find that some combination of these services makes the most sense for their applications. So, let's start by looking at instances. AWS has over 200 instance types to allow you to perfectly match the requirements of your application to your hardware. We've got general purpose instances as well as instances tailored for HPC or big data. We've got the most powerful machine learning and GPU instances in the P3 and the P3DN. We've also got a broad choice of processors, whether Intel or AMD for x86, or the recently announced Graviton ARM-based processor, which can allow you to save up to 45% on scale-out workloads. In the past year, we've added a lot of new capabilities as well. You can have bare metal, you can have direct attached SSD, or you can have enhanced networking. And we have the ability to elastically add resources to instance types, so you can customize them as you wish. You can add things like elastic graphics, elastic storage, or elastic inference. Now, let's talk about containers. Amazon Elastic Container Service is a highly scalable, high-performance container management service that supports Docker containers, and it allows you to easily run applications on a managed cluster of EC2 instances. With ECS, you don't actually have to deal with any of the container automation or orchestration software, or manage any of the virtual machine cluster underneath it. That's all managed for you. And it's designed from the ground up to work with the rest of the AWS services. And we've taken this one step further with AWS Fargate. AWS Fargate is a compute engine for AWS ECS that completely removes the need to know about the instances at all. With Fargate, you only focus on your application. You can launch and scale quickly and easily, and you pay only based on the actual usage, so you don't pay for the size of your cluster. This allows you to spend more time innovating and building and less time managing servers and dealing with IT. AWS Fargate runs tens of millions of customer containers each week. Okay, if you're more of a Kubernetes fan, last year we launched Amazon EKS, a managed secure service that allows you to easily run Kubernetes, but without the hassle of having to build, manage, and maintain your Kubernetes control plane yourself. EKS is also tightly integrated with AWS, making it the best place to run Kubernetes. And we're not doing this alone. We're coordinating with the Kubernetes community and working with them to make AWS the best place to run Kubernetes. And EKS is certified Kubernetes, ensuring compatibility with your existing applications. In fact, any major change that we make to Kubernetes, we upstream to the Kubernetes community first before we adopt it in EKS. And a lot of customers are doing amazing things with containers in production. GetCarbon is a Nigerian fintech company specializing in bill payments, fund transfers, savings products, and consumer loans. The company uses ECS to streamline its software development process. By using Amazon ECS to manage its 100+ containers, Carbon has reduced the average application deployment time from 3 days to less than 30 minutes. Finally, let's look at event-based driven serverless computing, which we pioneered with Lambda. Lambda lets you run code without provisioning or managing instances or servers at all. You can run code for virtually any type of application or backend service with zero administration and very high uptime. But it's not just Lambda. To build truly serverless applications, you need support for serverless computing from a broad range of services. And Lambda integrates with 47 AWS services, which is several times more than any other provider. And you'll see monitoring and logging up there. You'll notice identity. You'll see communication. It's not just functions. It's not just managed services. It's a complete serverless application platform. And it's this breadth and depth of the AWS platform and these capabilities that allow you to have absolutely no focus on your infrastructure. And that's what makes this such a fundamental shift. Serverless lets you focus on the things that bring value to your business and to your customer, and not IT management or infrastructure. Customers like Impression, a paperless signing app based on open standards, which serves financial services customers, use serverless computing. The company's entire infrastructure runs on AWS Lambda. And serverless is happening everywhere, and it's happening at scale. All right, we've talked about two things so far this morning. First, migrating apps to the cloud, and also starting to build new applications in the cloud. And really, these two things are not mutually exclusive. We have many customers migrating their existing apps to AWS, re-architecting them as they go, and building entirely new applications. Customers around the world are transforming their businesses on AWS. Here in South Africa, Time Bank is building the first digital bank for Africa on AWS. Here to share how AWS helps them reduce cost and accelerate their journey, please join me in welcoming Time Bank's CIO, Dieter Botha.
Thank you, Peter. Well, good morning, everybody. How cool is this? Cape Town, AWS Summit. It's brilliant to see so many people here. So, hopefully you've heard of us. Time Bank. We are South Africa's first digital bank. We are also the first bank in South Africa to receive, well, the first bank to receive a banking license in South Africa over the past 19 years. And we're super proud of that. Thank you. But at our core, we're actually about financial inclusion. Simply, there are too many people underserved by the current banking system in South Africa. So we ask ourselves, why? Why is this? And it boils down to this one word, access. And access is a big deal. In particular, physical access, financial access, and emotional access. So let's take physical access. For you and I, we hop in our car, we head off to the branch, go to the, which is typically in a mall, head up to the teller, if there is one, or you get a ticket and you wait to be called up. It's quite a process to get there. If you're opening an account, you'll be very lucky to get a debit card given to you or a credit card. You typically get couriered it, or you've got to come back and collect it. Now, if you take a step back and look at someone living in the rural areas, they typically would have to catch 2, maybe 3 taxis just to get to that scenario. So it is often inconvenient or impossible for the people. From a financial access point of view, very simply, our bank charges in this country are too expensive. South Africa has got some of the highest bank charges in the world. And that immediately is a barrier to financial inclusion when every rand is important to you. From an emotional point of view, we all know. You go to a branch, you want to open a bank account, you are hit with a bewildering array of products with tweaks and different color cards thrown at you. Bronze, silver, purple, it's tricky. So, we knew we had to simplify this. But like many other digital banks in the world, we've got a different problem. A lot of other digital banks are all about an app only. South Africa, emerging markets, the physical world is very important. We're still a cash-heavy society. It's tactile. We had to solve for that. And we believe we've cracked the code. We've partnered with Pick n Pay and Boxer stores, which gives us an access to over 800 stores in the country. Then our teams have designed and manufactured our kiosk. We've taken that kiosk and rolled it across all those stores. Then simply, with just your biometric, no paperwork, at the kiosk, you will have a bank account, a savings account, and a personalized debit card with your name printed all in under 5 minutes. And we think that's cool. So once you've got this account now, you can download our smart app, you can use our internet banking site, but also we have integrated into the Pick and Pay till points and Boxer till points. So our customers can deposit money and withdraw money at over 14,000 till points in the country. Then just being a normal debit card, obviously any ATM or merchant point of sale device. All of this stuff you will get for the princely sum of 0 fixed monthly bank charges, which is phenomenal for the customers. So one can say, well, that's all very nice, gives you a warm feeling. Has it worked? Is this resonating with the customers? From our side, absolutely yes. So last month, we actually exceeded 500,000 customers, which is super cool and we're very humbled and both proud of. I think it's also interesting to tell you, we only publicly launched this bank 5 months ago. So currently, in the last 2-3 months, we've been onboarding over 100,000 customers a month onto our platform. And very interestingly, we didn't think it was physically possible. But at one of our kiosks, the kiosk at Pick and Pay Davidson, we were able to open 134 bank accounts with a debit card in a single day. We didn't think that was possible. So if we're all techies in the room or there and thereabout, you know there's heaps of tech under the hood. I wouldn't be up here if you didn't know what the next slide was. AWS. We're big in AWS, obviously. Let me give you some metrics. So what is interesting, even as a digital bank, we were not born in the cloud. We actually decided roughly this time last year to actually do a bit of a lift and shift to the cloud. And we moved our data centers in 6 months into about 450 EC2 instances. Today, we have over 85% of our entire bank running in the AWS cloud, but including our core systems. Now, one gets a bit fluffy when you hear all these clouds and things, but just to make it real, we are also using, for all our kiosks, we are busy rolling out the AWS IoT capability to help improve the observability, what's going on inside that thing to get better resilience from it. Now, Peter touched on this briefly, is microservices. We've currently got 40 microservices. They're all containerized, spread across roughly 150 odd Docker containers. Those were traditionally built in our world on top of the Netflix stack. But as we've grown and become a bit more comfortable in the cloud, we've started moving those to the ECS containerized service and the Kubernetes service, and in particular the ECS with Fargate. One of our more critical, arguably, services is our payment service. So every single debit card, EFT, any payment that happens across the country goes through this single service running on top of ECS. What's super exciting for us as well is our entire development and deployment pipeline is native AWS now as well. And as you can see, the team told me we've got over 15,000 automated test cases running on that thing before it hits production. And again, what is super exciting for a young business, since the beginning of January to now, we are averaging over 5 deployments a day. And in a young digital business, that's a super big deal for us. So, all of this doesn't come for nothing. And again, when your total fixed monthly bank charges are 0, this is a super big deal for us. I did mention that we moved to the cloud, but truthfully, we did a lift and shift. And that wasn't arguably the right way to do it. We didn't optimize very well. But working in an engineering-heavy engagement with the AWS team, we've been able to mature into the cloud, grow into the cloud, and it's actually quite fascinating. We have now halved our Amazon bill. And interestingly, we've now got over 500,000 customers versus when we had 0, but our bill is cut in half. And what was even more exciting for us is we have more cost savings planned. So just to get real again, we are a bank. Our customers deposit their hard-earned money with us. As a technology team, it is our job to ensure our customers have access to their money 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is critical, especially when you're working with underserved people. They don't have massive credit facilities. It has to just work. And that is also where we rely on AWS to help us. You heard AWS was born here in Cape Town 13 years ago, give or take. They are the most mature cloud platform. From a security point of view, we have a layered approach to our cybersecurity. All of our customer endpoints, including our kiosk, all come into our world via the CDN and the WAF components and also Advanced Shield. AWS is our first line of defense. We're also super proud to say last month we became the first bank in South Africa to be fully PCI DSS compliant. So guys, to end, let me talk about fee, fi, fo, fum, giants. AWS is our giant. We're a young digital business on their shoulder. We live in their data centers, we consume their services. Our giant does our heavy lifting for us, allowing our young business to focus on our customers and probably most importantly, financial inclusion for all South Africans. Thank you guys, that's our story. Cheers.
All right. Well, we talked about the importance of having the right tool. And that's true with databases as well. But it's also important to be free of abusive relationships from your tool providers. If you look at Oracle and Microsoft, they're expensive, they have high lock-in, and they're not particularly customer-focused. When they're not looking for ways to audit you and find you in non-compliance, they might be making erratic decisions overnight, which seem to benefit them and maybe not so much you. And people are sick of it. It's hard to build a business because databases are so central to your application that when your tools provider seems to be constantly prioritizing their own needs over your needs, it's difficult. And this is the reason why so many customers seem to be moving as fast as they can away from the old guard databases and to the open source databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, and MariaDB. But many of these customers want the openness and customer-friendly policies of open source databases with the performance of the old guard databases. And that's why we built Amazon Aurora. Amazon Aurora is a fully MySQL and PostgreSQL compatible database that combines the performance and availability of high-end commercial databases with the simplicity, openness, and cost-effectiveness of an open source database. And because it's fully Postgres and MySQL compatible, you can easily migrate to Aurora using the standard MySQL and PostgreSQL import-export tools, or importing directly from your snapshot. It also means that the code, applications, tools, and drivers that you already have will work with Amazon Aurora with little or no change. But it isn't just a managed database. Aurora is several times faster than your typical MySQL or PostgreSQL database, so you can easily scale your database up or down depending on your application's needs. And it's at least as durable and highly available as the old guard, with 4 nines of availability. It has fault-tolerant and self-healing storage built for the cloud, and it's continuously backing your data up to Amazon S3. You can also backtrack to a point-in-time recovery to within seconds to recover from user error or logical corruption. And it provides all of this at 1/10 the cost of a commercial database. So, Amazon Aurora is still the fastest growing service in all of AWS's history. And part of the reason it continues to grow so quickly is the pace of innovation. We've launched 35 significant features on Aurora in just this last year alone. And that's part of why we're seeing customers flock to Aurora. Cape Town-based Mixed Telematics is a global leader in fleet and mobile asset management solutions. The company uses Amazon Aurora to manage 70 terabytes of assets and event data. By migrating from Microsoft SQL to Amazon Aurora, Mixed Telematics saved on SQL licensing cost and improved its scalability. The company went from a single instance with no data replication to a fully redundant solution running across multiple availability zones for the same cost. Relational databases are powerful tools. And while I suspect relational databases will continue to be a tool of choice for many applications for a long time to come, there is a change in the winds. You see, relational databases are much like those monolithic applications we talked about earlier. They do a lot, they're very large, they're complex. And so there's been this move to purpose-built databases. Purpose-built databases provide better scalability, higher performance, and lower cost because they target doing one thing and doing it really well. And no one has more purpose-built databases than AWS. There are apps that just need to store and retrieve key values in very high volumes in millisecond level latency. And for that, we've built Amazon DynamoDB. And some applications need even lower latency, microsecond level latency. And for those apps, we built Amazon Elasticache, a managed in-memory cache for both Redis and Memcached. Some apps need to store semi-structured data as documents, and they need content management, personalization, and mobile features. And for those, we built Amazon DocumentDB. And then some applications need to enable millions of users to query and navigate relationships between highly interconnected objects. And for those, we have Amazon Neptune. Other applications need to scalably collect, synthesize, and derive insights from time series data. And for that, we have Amazon TimeStream. And some applications need a centralized ledger, which is a trusted authority that maintains a scalable, complete, and cryptographically verifiable ledger. And for that, we have Amazon QLDB. Now don't worry, we don't have time to go into depth on all these services right now, but there are a number of very interesting technical talks throughout the day, should you be interested. But let's look at a couple of these in a little more detail. We'll start with Amazon DynamoDB. Amazon DynamoDB is a fully managed, highly scalable, high throughput, single-digit millisecond latency key value store. It was based on the performance and availability needs of Amazon and AWS. And over the last 18 months, we've delivered most of the features that customers have been asking us for, with a total of 29 features delivered to date, including global tables, which provides fast local read and write performance for massively scaled global applications, replicating your table data automatically over your choice of AWS regions. Global Tables makes AWS DynamoDB the first fully managed, multi-master, multi-region database. And on-demand backups and point-in-time recovery enable you to create full backups of your tables with hundreds of terabytes of customer data instantly with no impact to your table's performance. And with point-in-time recovery, you can restore to any single second from the time you enabled the point-in-time recovery feature. And last year at reInvent, we also announced DynamoDB read-write capacity on demand. Well, using this feature, you simply create your tables, select on demand, and DynamoDB will manage your read and write capacity for you. You no longer have to provision your throughput, and you only pay for what you use. Today, DynamoDB scales to support some of the world's largest applications, including Amazon and many organizations based here. Grassroots helps survivors of gender-based violence and sexual assault. The South African organization uses Amazon DynamoDB to manage the personal data of more than 20,000 survivors. They chose Amazon DynamoDB over a relational database because of its ease of use and cost. Compared to what it would have expected to see with a relational database, Grassroots dedicates mere minutes as opposed to hours each month maintaining their database, and they see 90% savings on their operational cost. Earlier, I mentioned QLDB, and it's worth taking a minute to talk about how we at AWS think about blockchain. A lot of people and companies have been talking about blockchain because it's the next big thing. They talk about it because it's complicated, virtually no one can implement it by themselves, and it leads to a lot of revenue and margin for their professional services business. But that's not what we're about. We want to build tools and services that let customers build their own solutions without needing professional services. So we spent a lot of time over the last couple of years talking to customers about what they really wanted with blockchain. And what we found is that customers were really asking for two different things. The first is that a significant number of customers effectively wanted a ledger, which is owned by a single trusted entity, but where the ledger serves as a transparent, immutable, and cryptographically verifiable log. And the second set of companies, well, they really want to transact and share data with one another, and they want to do it without a central authority. So, for the first group, we built Amazon Quantum Ledger Database, or QLDB. QLDB is built with tried and tested technology used extensively within AWS and Amazon.com. It's immutable. QLDB is an append-only immutable journal to maintain a sequenced and permanent record of each data change. It cannot be deleted or modified. It's cryptographically verifiable. QLDB provides APIs that allow you to verify the integrity of each piece of data and to ensure there's been no unintended changes. And it's transparent. You have full visibility into the entire data lineage. And for the second group, the ones that really do want to transact with decentralized trust, well, the right solution is blockchain. And that's why we built Amazon Managed Blockchain. Amazon Managed Blockchain is a fully managed blockchain service supporting both Hyperledger Fabric, which is available today, and Ethereum, which is coming soon. Instead of manually provisioning hardware and dealing with this complex software, with just a few clicks, you can set up the open source framework of your choice and start using blockchain. And when you look at this depth and breadth of database services, there truly never has been a better time to be a builder. And that is truly exciting. Okay, we talked about migrating data earlier, but what are you going to do with all that data? And more importantly, how does having the right tools allow you to get more value from that data? Okay, there's so much more you can do with your data when you have it in the cloud. But the problem is, most of the data that you have is siloed. And you need to bring all that data together. And that's why customers are really interested in data lakes. Today, customers are running more than 10,000 data lakes on AWS. And S3 has become the #1 choice for data lakes. And there are a number of reasons for this. First, S3 has the durability, availability, and scalability that you need. And S3 is the only service that replicates your data to 3 availability zones and keeps it inside of the AWS region. It's also got the best security, compliance, and audit capabilities. And it has object-level control at any scale. You can do object tagging, tiering by prefix, or you can apply lifecycle policies to groups of objects. Or you can use tagging and filtering to do cross-region replication of your data. And once your data is in S3, you have the broadest choice of analytics services to analyze it. But setting up a data lake has traditionally been difficult. That's why we built Lake Formation. Lake Formation helps you build, secure, and manage your data lake. You just identify the data sources, whether they're in S3 or databases. Then Lake Formation moves that data into your data lake. It crawls, it catalogs, and it processes your data. Once it's in your data lake, you can allow your users to create self-service access using the analytics tools that they want. So what used to take customers weeks can now be done in as little as a day. AWS is enabling Old Mutual to connect their legacy systems in order to migrate data into a data lake and build new low-cost systems. Here, to tell us more, please join me in welcoming Johnson Ideso.
Good morning, everyone. It is a real privilege and pleasure to be here on behalf of Old Mutual to tell you our story with Amazon Web Services. Everything we do with AWS helps us live our purpose, which is to be our customers' most trusted, lifelong financial services partner. We started our journey with AWS just over a year ago, but before I go into that, I'd just like to show you a little video to give you an insight into who Old Mutual are and what we stand for, because we're probably not what you may think.
It's another great day in Africa.
Now, this is where it starts.
pass on my culture.
To break new ground.
To make my name.
It's time to make a champion.
To make my mark.
It's time to fly.
The great things you do tomorrow start with the small steps you take right now.
The time
is now.
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 The time is now.
It's time to take that step with Old Mutual.
Okay, our journey with AWS actually started at this very event a year ago. Prior to that, we had next to really no relationship with AWS. And in a year, we're very, very pleased with the partnership that we've built, and we see it as a very long-term partnership. Behind me is some of the things we've achieved in that year. We held our first planning session with AWS in August. Our first solution on Amazon Web Services went live in September, a conversational chatbot based on natural language processing. If you want to go and ask it questions on our website about saving propositions, how you save for your child's education or your retirement, I encourage you to do so. It's built on AWS technology. In November, we implemented our high-speed secure network, Direct Connect. In December, we launched My Old Mutual. My Old Mutual is a platform that in time, all our customers in the 14 markets that we serve on 2 continents will have access to work with Old Mutual. What we've particularly liked about My Old Mutual is the customer uptake has been 4 times faster than anything we've done before. And obviously, the AWS technology allows us to deploy capability at speeds that we were previously unable to. However, for an organization like us, we want to be sure we can run our core technology on AWS. So having proven we can run our customer interface, in February this year, working with AWS, we demonstrated that we can run the life insurance platform we use outside South Africa on AWS. Not on this slide, and since then, the platform that will support well over 4 million customers in South Africa with the vendor we've proven works on AWS as well. So what that has enabled us to do, and I'll talk about this a bit more in the next slide, is to look at the migration assessment of our infrastructure. And that brings us to today. So our infrastructure, like many large corporates, is of several generations. That little device many of you are using has fundamentally shifted the expectations our customers have of us. We all expect a frictionless service and immediacy. We live in a market that's increasingly competitive. And the shift we really desire is to deliver an always-on service to our customers, to have security embedded, and obviously to move at a speed that our customers would expect. So what we've done is we have assessed our entire architecture, and we are certain we can run it on AWS. I told you a moment ago, we know we can run core insurance platforms in AWS, and as I stand before you today, we're obviously going through the details with AWS on the next stages of this work, the detailed planning and the business casing. But what really I want to talk to you about is what we're doing with lake formation. So apart from people, I think it's fair to say every organization in the world today realizes that data is the biggest asset. Yet, it is locked away. One of my other strategic partners said, as soon as you start moving data, you've essentially killed it. You put it in a coffin and it decays. But that's historically what one has had to do, extract data out of relational databases, move them, extract them, load them, to the point that by the time you actually use it and get insights, it's decayed. We are very clear at Old Mutual that following the conventional approaches to this problem will not solve it. So what are we doing? We call it the information fabric. And basically what we're doing, we're lifting data out of our core systems. We're putting them into the AWS cloud. We're applying the security you would expect the audit and controls you would expect. We're using machine learning to categorize, cleanse, dedupe. We want to go one step further than analytics. We actually want to use it for customer servicing. So if you're a customer of Old Mutual and you use My Old Mutual, in a few months' time when you log on and you start to see servicing capability, you know we've built it on AWS and Lake Formation. The first version of this, and our head of software engineering who's developing this is in the room, we will prove this month in July. So, why are we working with AWS? Why do we see this as a long-term partnership? Why have we built it in a little over a year? We like to think of ourselves as a 174-year-old startup. I've not been in the company that long. We're trusted, we're fortunate, we're trusted by customers in 14 countries on this great continent and in China. We are determined to live our purpose of being our customers' trusted, lifelong financial services partner. AWS is enabling us to get to speed of customer outcome, to deliver a level of service, and importantly, to scale across our markets that using conventional technology, we would simply not be able to. So certainly, our view is we've started into a very long-term strategic partnership with AWS, which we hope will last for the next 174 years. Thank you.
It's always my favorite part of these summits to hear from customers, so hopefully you enjoy these topics. All right, data, data, data. We were talking about data, and we were left off talking about data lakes. But what good is a data lake without analytics? And AWS allows you to analyze your data with more analytics services than any other platform. Let's take a look at that. Each of these analytics services are purpose-built, again, for a specific use case, such as interactive analysis, big data processing, data warehousing, dashboarding, operational analytics, visualization. Let's dive into a couple. Amazon Redshift is a fast, scalable data warehouse that makes it simple and cost-effective to analyze all your data. Redshift delivers 10 times faster performance than other data warehouses by using machine learning, massively parallel query execution, and cloud-optimized storage. You can set up and deploy your data warehouse in minutes and run queries across petabytes of data. And if you want to do real-time processing, look at Kinesis, which has become a key service for IoT applications. Kinesis makes it easy to collect, process, and analyze real-time data and get timely insights and take timely actions. Today, we have a full family of Kinesis services, including Kinesis video streams, data firehose, data analytics. And speaking of IoT, IoT is one of the fastest growing producers of data. Billions of edge devices are being deployed, and companies are struggling to manage these devices and get the most value out of that data. Let's talk about how AWS is helping with that. Today, there are billions of devices located in homes, factories, hospitals, agricultural fields, cars, machineries, and thousands of other places. Device data will allow customers to build more precise insights through machine learning and analytics. And these insights will help customers optimize their products and processes and improve our quality of life and benefit society as a whole. For example, healthcare providers are improving patient care using devices that can remotely monitor patient health. And manufacturers are improving processes, reducing cost, improving quality, and improving safety by analyzing data from equipment, creating predictive maintenance processes, and keeping devices up to date with over-the-air updates. But analyzing all the data from IoT devices can be difficult. And because of these challenges, you need a comprehensive portfolio of software and services to easily and securely connect your IoT devices and operate the edge and bring that data into the cloud. And AWS IoT provides this broad and deep functionality you need, spanning from the edge to the cloud, so you can collect, store, and analyze all your IoT data. AWS IoT is used by millions of customers in 190 different countries. AWS IoT can easily scale as your device fleet grows and your business needs evolve. AWS IoT also offers comprehensive security features so you can create preventive policies and respond immediately to any potential issues. And through integration with edge services like AWS Lambda, AWS IoT makes it easy to operate your devices without internet connectivity or with intermittent internet connectivity. Customers of all sizes across all industries are building IoT solutions using AWS IoT. Apex Innovation built an IoT platform based on AWS IoT that measures utility usage in residential, commercial, and industrial properties in South Africa, and enables users to get visual reports of their consumption at any time on their desktop or on their mobile device. By using AWS IoT, Apex Innovation has reduced the cost of connecting more than 20,000 endpoints by over 68%. And of course, analytics is not the only goal that customers have with data. Customers are increasingly looking to use this data to build machine learning models and use those models to improve their applications. Let's take a look at how the breadth and depth of machine learning services is helping customers achieve this goal. Now, we have a long history of machine learning at Amazon. Whether it's our personalization and recommendation engines or our automated fulfillment and inventory management in our warehouses, or whether it's Amazon Alexa or our new storefronts called Amazon Go. We've been doing this going back more than 20 years when we built our first recommendation engine for Amazon.com. Our goal is to use this vast experience to make machine learning pervasive by making it easy for developers and scientists to build intelligent applications. To realize the true potential of machine learning, it has to be just as easy to add machine learning to your application as it is to add storage or compute. And there's good news to report. We're seeing more and more companies are starting to use machine learning in a serious way. And the vast majority of them are doing it on AWS. Aerobotics empowers tree crop farmers to identify early-stage problems on a tree-by-tree basis using its AeroView software and a smartphone application. The company's drones collect imagery, and then Aerobotics turns this data into individual tree locations and insights based on the health of the tree. Aerobotics runs its machine learning on AWS and has scanned more than 22 million trees. It's insane. I didn't know there were that many trees in South Africa. We think about machine learning at a macro level as having 3 different layers of the stack. The bottom layer is made up of the frameworks, the infrastructure, and the interfaces that are used by machine learning practitioners. The middle layer is where you have machine learning services which make it easy for the everyday developer or data scientist to build machine learning models. And at the top level, this is where you have AI services which don't require building machine learning models, but provide services that loosely resemble human cognition. And we think all 3 layers are important, so let's take a look at each. We'll start at the bottom. If you look at the bottom layer, this is where most machine learning is being done in the cloud, and it's being done on P3 instances. Our P3DN instance provides 100 gigabits of networking. This enables developers to scale their model training performance across multiple instances, which can accelerate pre-processing and remove data transfer bottlenecks from their machine learning models. Our largest instance type, the P3DN 24XL, is the largest GPU instance available on anywhere. These instances have more than 3 times the network bandwidth of the next largest instance available from another provider. They have twice as much GPU memory as any GPU instance, and they have 100 gigabytes more system memory than any other instance. And if you look at frameworks, these are the tools that practitioners use to build these models. There's a lot of these frameworks out there. And we find that most customers today use more than one framework in their day-to-day machine learning work. Lots use MXNet for speech models and recommendations. Some use PyTorch to research new machine learning models, and many use TensorFlow for computer vision and language models. If there's one thing we know, there's gonna be more change. There's gonna be new frameworks, and when those emerge, we're gonna support them as well on AWS. The one with the most resonance in the community right now is TensorFlow. So let's take a little deeper look there. 85% of Tensor workloads in the cloud run on AWS today. Siemens runs their natural language processing to expedite due diligence on new energy projects. And Snap, the maker of Snapchat, runs TensorFlow models on AWS to better match ads to users to increase engagement and maximize revenue. Customers using TensorFlow love the availability of reference code supplied by the vibrant developer community. But when they look to scale up their models, they can run into problems. And that's because customers usually need to scale their machine learning models to run over multiple machines. And the inner workings of TensorFlow make it scaling across multiple GPU instances inefficient. In fact, if you take a standard version of TensorFlow and run it over 256 GPUs, you only achieve 68% efficiency. So we spent some time innovating on how TensorFlow exchanges information in a cluster. And by doing that optimization, we were able to take the same cluster of 256 GPUs and increase the efficiency to 90%. So that allows customers to train twice as fast on the same cluster of GPU instances. So that's great for training, but what about inference? So training is when you take a bunch of data and you produce a data model. Inference is when you actually do the interesting work. Inference, you might train your models once or twice a week, but you might perform inference thousands or even millions of times in between. And this makes sense. Mostly what you're building these models for is to do inference. Think about Alexa, it's a great example. We update our language models regularly. We might train them once or twice a week. But in the time between those trainings, we might run millions or even billions of inferences. Every time somebody asks Alexa a question, that's an inference. And so therefore, running inference in production drives the majority of the cost in machine learning workloads. So to help reduce the cost of inference, we've created a number of different products. The first is elastic inference. I talked about this earlier. Elastic inference allows you to use smaller general purpose instances like the M5, which are generally much more cost competitive, and provide just the amount of GPU you need and attach it to the instance so you can optimize your inference. This can save you up to 75% on your inference costs. And Inferentia is a high-performance machine learning inference chip, custom built by AWS, that'll be available later this year. It'll provide hundreds of teraflops of inference capacity. And multiple Inferentia chips can be clustered together to create thousands of teraflops of performance. It'll reduce the cost of inference by as much as 10x, even compared to elastic inference. And soon, customers will be able to leverage the new EC2 G4 instances, which were designed for machine learning, both training and inference, but they're particularly well optimized for a number of inference workloads. G4 instances will have AWS custom Intel CPUs, NVIDIA T4 Tensor Core GPUs, local NVMe storage, and up to 100 gigabits of network capacity. And while we're seeing all sorts of great activity at this bottom layer of the ML stack, the reality is there just aren't that many machine learning practitioners in the world. The good news is universities are training more, but there just aren't that many folks working on this layer of the stack. So if you want to enable enterprises and companies to be able to use machine learning in an expansive way, you have to solve the problem of how you make it possible for everyday developers and scientists to use machine learning. And that's why we built and launched AWS SageMaker, a managed ML service in this middle tier that makes it easy for everyday developers and data scientists to get up and running with machine learning models. With a single click, you have access to a fully managed machine learning notebook environment using the popular Jupyter OS format. And SageMaker Ground Truth makes it easy to build highly accurate training data sets and reduce data labeling time by up to 70% using machine learning to help you. SageMaker also makes it easy to choose and implement your desired algorithm. Our teams have optimized the top algorithms to run up to 10 times faster on SageMaker than anywhere else. You can also bring your own algorithm, or you can use the AWS Marketplace for machine learning, which offers more than 150 different algorithms. And if you need to teach machine learning models where there's no training data available, SageMaker RL, reinforcement learning, offers built-in, fully managed reinforcement learning algorithms, including some of the newest in academic literature. It's also much easier to do training in SageMaker than anywhere else. You specify the location of your data, you specify the instance types, and SageMaker will spin up a cluster of instances and do the training for you. And SageMaker also helps you optimize your models by automatically tuning hyperparameters using machine learning. And Amazon SageMaker Neo will allow you to continually optimize your training models to produce the highest performance inference possible. And when you're ready to use that model and start doing inferences, SageMaker deploys it to production and manages all the compute infrastructure on your behalf. Today, we have more than 10,000 customers using Amazon SageMaker. Many of these customers are standardizing on AWS for their machine learning. ABSA is one of Africa's largest diversified financial groups. The company's using Amazon SageMaker to identify legacy branding for more than 40,000 assets across 300 different systems, including 200 gigabytes of photos. By using Amazon SageMaker, ABSA's team doesn't spend any of their time identifying the assets that need updating, and rather spend their time actually updating the assets. Okay, let's look at the top of the stack. Here's where the machine learning functionality is provided as services rather than requiring you to deal with machine learning models at all. Customers can use these services to add intelligence to new or existing applications, to reduce cost, increase speed, or increase customer engagement. Let's take a quick look. For vision, we have recognition image and recognition video. And these allow you to do things like ask, what's in this image, or which celebrity's in this image, or is this image appropriate for work? For documents, we have textract to easily extract text and data from virtually any document. For speech, we have poly to turn text into speech, and transcribe if you want to turn speech into text. For language, we offer translate for translating into over 25 different languages. Then there's comprehend to help you understand what's being said in the translated text. And with Lex, we offer a service that uses automatic speech recognition and natural language processing to help build conversational interfaces in either speech or text for your application. We also have Forecast, which is our accurate time series forecasting service, and Personalize, our real-time personalization and recommendation service. Okay, finally, we've got some great resources to help you get started with machine learning. We've got Amazon ML Solutions Labs, which can help you accelerate your use of machine learning. It pairs your team with Amazon experts in machine learning to prepare data, build models, and put those models into production. We've also got Amazon Machine Learning University, which provides the same training used by Amazon's own developers. It also provides training for other users of machine learning and allows you to obtain specialty certifications. You can learn more about all of these AWS machine learning resources at ai.aws. As I mentioned earlier, businesses and organizations everywhere are benefiting from machine learning and analytics. The University of Pretoria is using AWS to add advanced analytics to its learning management system to improve the learning and to scale to allow higher levels of access to e-learning across Africa. Here to tell us more is Deputy Director, E-Learning and Media Development, Dolph Jordans.
Good morning. It's a privilege to be here this morning. I would like to just ask a quick question to see who I'm actually talking to. Can I just see who's representing higher education or any education sector here today? Thank you. It seems that we're a crowd here. So what a privilege for me to share with you what the University of Pretoria has already experienced the last few years through partnering with world-class leaders in information and educational technology. As we all know, the University of Pretoria is known as a research institution, and it's also internationally known in some of the subject areas to be ranked in the top 1%. Current research at the University of Pretoria specifically focuses on topics such as smart cities, smart transport, and food security. Therefore, what's required is innovative, stable information technology to support the research. As Peter mentioned, one of the key milestones we achieved last year at the University of Pretoria was to celebrate 20 years of implementing hybrid learning, or e-learning as it's well known, into the teaching and learning model of the institution. What we've learned through our partnership with Blackboard and Amazon is that we have the ability to increase our hybrid model. Currently, nearly 100% of all our undergraduate modules are largely depending on innovative technologies to support course outcomes. Interesting enough that through this technology, we have now the ability to achieve institutional goals. Through the partnership with Amazon, we now be able to integrate, as Peter just mentioned, analytics, predictive and descriptive data into our teaching and learning environment. Therefore, not only teaching and learning systems, but also institutional systems, like our institutional web, we've moved to Amazon. That enables us to be able to provide a better user experience. Amazon Cloud Services not only increase our user experience, but also user trust in availability of systems. Anyone who's ever been taught in a higher education institution relying on educational technology will know what is the implication of the availability of these systems. Our Blackboard learning management system, through the partnership with Amazon, is now 100% available to more than 50,000 students and 2,500 instructors. The integration of descriptive and predictive data support our institutional teaching and learning goals. One of these goals specifically focusing on student success. I think all the South Africans are familiar with the priority being given to higher education recently due to recent events in the country. Amazon hosted descriptive and predictive data allow staff, academic staff, daily access to real-time data for early intervention purposes. Also, it is now quicker to run big data science reports and to provide data to specific faculty management or institutional management. We decrease our ETL process, for example, with more than 40% through being hosted on the Amazon cloud. Peter also mentioned the implication for data science researchers. Our data science for social impact research group use the services which Peter just explained and able to run experiments on natural languages and anomaly detection. Their experiments reduce now from days to mere few hours. That increase not only their research efforts, but also the research outputs. And they're focusing their research now on other topics to be able to make a difference in local communities. Some of the services which the university also provide, like any other institution, is of course its institutional branding. While the web is a standard way of branding institutions, we will soon launch a very innovative first-class institutional app, also hosted on Amazon Cloud. Institutional branding is only possible at these days and time if we use services. Now, although my slide of the services which we are using is not comparing to those of the Peter showing here,
I need to tell you and translate that slide into layman's term from an education perspective. Imagine being an educator, you depending on staff, you just graded thousands of papers, you've uploaded the grades, and somewhere something went wrong, and you just lost everything. Well, that happened in the past, and partially that is the reason for my gray hair. But through Amazon Cloud Services, we're now able to provide data redundancy. In other words, real-time backup, real-time accesses. That is translating the technical slide into normal day-to-day activity and value. With Amazon Services, partnering with Blackboard, we're now able also to increase our hybrid model. Increasing the hybrid model in 2018, December 2018, we migrated our learning management system to Amazon. The direct implication there is we saw in the first 5 months of 2019 a 25% increase in user activity. Where we had in total about 16 million sessions on the system in 2018, we now, in the first few months, already noted about 9 million sessions. We can expand our hybrid offering. That implies we increase the reach and the footprint of the institution. Amazon and the partnership with Blackboard also allow the institution to provide increased student success services. It is, for everybody in the country, a well-known fact that subsidies is declining while cost to higher education is soaring. Universities will have to start to meet student demands and expectations, and maybe start to rethink the investment in IT capital expenditure and shift the focus from investment in maintaining and building infrastructure to effective use thereof. E-learning and M-learning have the ability to increase access to higher education in Africa. We're all familiar with the fact that mobile learning provided that leapfrog to African higher education and enables students across the country and continent to have access to the internet. Amazon Cloud and AWS can make a significant difference and alleviate the skill shortage in higher education and produce a more innovative user experience. Universities in South Africa already are busy with big data science research. I cannot foresee a future for higher education in South Africa without access to cloud services. And yes, while you've heard a lot of technical information today, I would like to remind you, I think that although it is important, there is the possibility that the next few generations of higher education students may have access to an environment which they never had access before, and therefore may improve not only the South African economy, but also that of the continent. I want to thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Dolph. I bet the one thing that you weren't expecting this morning was to be done on time. But you'd be wrong. We are about done. But before I end, I wanted to look at something a little bit fun. Because after all, it's not all about business. We're blessed to be in this extraordinary time doing extraordinarily fun things. And machine learning can be a lot of fun. So, a couple things I want to talk about. First is AWS Deep Lens, which is the world's first deep learning-enabled camera. And it allows developers of any skill level to get started with deep learning. And you can use this for all sorts of cool things, but it's commonly used for things like object detection and sentiment analysis. Models can be trained in SageMaker and downloaded directly to your camera with just a few clicks. Developers can run any deep learning framework they want, so you can learn TensorFlow, Apache MXNet, Caffe. And with over 100 gigaflops of compute power on the device, it can process your deep learning algorithm in real time. And then we have Deep Racer. Deep Racer is a 1/18th scale race car driven by reinforcement learning. I talked a little bit about reinforcement learning earlier, but it's a unique and advanced machine learning technique which takes a very different approach to training than traditional machine learning models. Its superpower is it learns through reward. Very complex behavior without requiring you to provide it with pre-labeled data to start with. And what's a race car without a little competition? Roll the video.
Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Marine. These are 1/18th scale RC cars that are fully autonomous thanks to reinforcement learning.
Okay, here's how it works. You build your reinforcement learning model either at the workshop right here or at home. And then you bring it to the summit, and you can start racing today at the AWS Deep Racer Cape Town Speedway just next door. And if you don't have a model, you can also use some pre-provided models and start playing with those. Now, you can do this at any Deep Racer League race at any AWS Summit in 2019, and you can participate as many times as you'd like. The winner of each Deep Racer League race and the top 10 point scorers overall will be given an all-expenses-paid trip to reInvent 2019. So, go race. Okay, with that, we've come to the end. And today, you'll have the opportunity to attend a bunch of different sessions that's going to go much deeper than we did this morning. And what I really want you to walk away from, whether you're a startup or a 100-year-old enterprise or a highly regulated government industry, is that you can build with AWS. We have the tools, whatever they are you need. So with that, thank you for coming this morning, and please enjoy the rest of your day.